Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing excellent. Today, I'm back here on the Burnt FC. We have a pretty interesting part of the project to take care of today. Well, hopefully today in one day. That's what I always hope, but it always seems to take longer than that. But anyway, what I'm going to do is drop the subframe and start prepping it to get ready to go on the other car. You might be asking yourself, well, your other FC already has a subframe, Thomas. Why would you swap the whole subframe? Well, that's a good question, and I'm about to tell you why. The S5 FC we got imported is a GTX model. The GTX model is the base model in Japan, and it does not have a limited slip differential. It has an open diff, and I tested this myself. This S4 chassis FC Turbo 2 from the US is top of the line model, and it has a limited slip differential. It is also a clutch type instead of viscous, which came on the S5 model, so it is much more preferred. But if you're going to swap in the differential, you need to, if you're not taking the guts out, just the whole pumpkin, you have to have the differential, the drivetrain, and the transmission, which is totally fine. I planned to swap the whole engine and transmission assembly, which now means drivetrain and differential. You may say, well, you could just get the diff out. Well, that's somewhat not true. Anybody who's worked on an FC or maybe seen other videos knows that the differential, front differential mount is right on the subframe, and the only way to really get it installed or uninstalled correctly is to drop the subframe. Since we're going to go ahead and go through all that trouble, I figured out why not swap this subframe over, because all the bushings in this subframe I had previously replaced with polyurethane bushings from Energy Suspension. So as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, it's actually gonna save time and energy. Then we'll get all the guts from the S5 eventually over on this chassis when we're done race wiring it up and getting it ready with its new engine for track use. And I already ordered new bushings to get that subframe prepped, yada yada yada, you know. And then with that S5 differential, we'll probably either order a Tomei or Kaz LSD to put in there, or if we want to go full send and just budget, we might just weld it. So anyway, today I'm going to start dropping the subframe. We're going to get it prepped, painted, looking beautiful, and I'm going to decide, with your guys' help, some additional parts I might want to buy for the links and the suspension based on my use. So stay tuned for that. The first step is to drain the transmission, because at some point when I'm moving things around, that drive shaft is going to come out, and let me tell you, it's messy and it stinks. So we're going to take care of that right now. Okay, got our transmission drain plug loosened up, and here comes the stink. Oh, that's sad. That is so fresh looking. Looks great, but oh god, that stuff is so smelly. Now get the exhaust off so we can access everything easily. Start with the V-band up here. Now have to take the downpipe off in a separate piece. One piece. Here comes the rest of the exhaust. So now that we got the transmission drained and the exhaust out of the way, we can start working on unbolting our subframe. Before that, I need to place some jack stands under here, so that as I undo these bolts, this whole thing doesn't fall on me, including the differential. Now I've already got the brakes pulled off and tied up. I had done that previously. So now it's just about seeing if I can get these big heavy duty bolts undone. I think we have 2 or 3 along, excuse me, 2 or 4 along the bottom of the subframe here. And then we have the differential to undo. So I'm going to put the jack under the differential and jack stands under the front of the subframe. Then I can hopefully lower it down all in one piece. Fingers crossed. Okay, so subframe removal is going okay. Just want to point out that right underneath the subframe here is a big 22mm nut which holds onto a stud, and this piece is actually pressed up against it, and then there's a 14mm right here that lets this piece down. So subframe is kind of loose now, if you can see that. But right now I need to go back here and get one of the adjustment arms loosened up. I already took the sway bars off. So right in front of the diff, right there, need to get that piece undone because that's actually bolted to the chassis on top. And then there's one bolt on either side of the diff, and I think they'll allow it to drop down and give me access to the drive shaft. Okay, so I got the rear differential mounts out, and I already lowered it from the jack stand. You can see here, if you can, that the mount and the bolts already starting to slip through. I just pulled the jack stands from the front part of the subframe, so hopefully when I lower this jack, the subframe lowers down, and I'm hoping it lands on the jack like a cart, although I don't know how I'm going to get it past these. But anyway, so I can actually get this thing out of here. I'm not working with much room on the side of the house here, so we'll see. Oh, the drive shaft is still attached actually, so I'm hoping that it drops down to where I can get at the drive shaft, because it's a little difficult. It's behind that exhaust hanger there for me to get under there and get to all the bolts, because obviously one's up on top there. So I'm hoping that it actually might pull out of the transmission, which is why we drained it. So okay, here we go. Let's see. Nope, it stopped. So it probably stopped from the drive shaft if I had to guess. Okay. Time to figure this out. So actually it was not the drive shaft. It was just coming down unevenly, and so the studs in here were catching on the subframe and stopping it. So I just jacked up the diff a little bit, and a chunk came right down. So it's under the diff now, but I do think the drive shaft is going to be an issue, but I can see the drive shaft bolts now, all 4 of them. So I'm going to try and lower it a little more right now. Obviously the jack again, but if not, I can actually get to those drive shaft bolts now. Oh, let's see, here we go. And there we go. Subframe is loose. Diff and all. Okay. And it is heavy. I can feel it just from the jack. Yep, and the drive shaft definitely came out of the transmission, which is fine. It needs to be out. There's no reason for it to be in right now. Okay. So next, figure out how the heck to move this thing. Alright guys, so it is a new day, but it's not because this project got pushed into another day. Jeff needed the brakes done on his RX7, his FD, that he just got, and it took forever. So we got him on. You'll have seen that video already if you're watching the channel. And now back to the subframe. So I need to get the differential off. So I got my compressor moved over here, got my air wrench. Yeah. Whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and zip that off with some impacts, and then what I think I'm going to do is get this assembly onto these little cartwheel things and see if I can shimmy it out and try and get it out through this narrow passageway to where I can actually work on cleaning it and refinishing it. So let's get to Okay, got it. Here she is, all in one piece. So let's see what I wanted to show you guys. Okay, so this is the front diff mount that I was talking about, and this is a aftermarket one I put on this car years and years ago, which is much stronger. They also make little reinforcements for this piece here, because what sometimes can happen is you upgrade the stiffness and strength here, and then this actual mount breaks. As you can see, she's dirty as hell, but that's pretty normal for being underneath the car. Want to see if I can replace these bushings as well, but there is, and I can't even see where it connects right now, but there is another linkage that goes to the chassis up and down here, and then there are these linkages here, as well as where the sway bars mount here, so I still need to pull those off. But that's a question I wanted to ask you guys. Should I get the upgraded parts for those? And here's why I asked the question. This is going on the Street FC. The Street FC is at the lowest height it's going to be already, and when I took it to the alignment shop, they were able to zero it out no problem. So my question is, for you guys with experience with FCs, do I need those arms for anything, or should I just wait and upgrade those arms for the track FC and not waste the money on a street car if I can zero out the alignment? Let me know in the comments below, or hit us up on Instagram at More Garage. So now it's time to clean this thing. So I'm going to soak it in degreaser, then I'm going to get the power washer, then it's going to get wire wheeled, and hopefully painted up. I mean, hopefully, because we'll see how bad it is underneath, and I'm just saying, hopefully that's all the steps that it takes to get it looking nice again. So what I'm going for with all this wire wheeling and power washing is not to strip it down to bare metal. What I'm trying to do is knock off all the dirt and grime and crap on there so that I can condition it and get it ready just to be touched up. Now, I know people like to do all kinds of crazy stuff and multicolor subframe, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get this piece ready to go into a street car. It's a daily driver, it's not a show car. And what I'd like to do is, as you can tell, I don't want to have to take it apart. I just want to be able to slap it up as is. But that depends on your feedback from this video, because I have the questions about the links, the toe links, and then also I have questions about the diff bushings and the subframe bushings. So these bushings here and these bushings here, so they definitely could use to be replaced. I can tell just by looking at them, and plus their age and mileage. I'm sure I can go through AutoZone or something and get factory replacement ones. They're probably going to be overpriced because of the age of the vehicle. Or the only ones I've been able to find online are Delrin bushings. Delrin seems a little harsh for what I'm trying to do, but maybe some of you out there on an FC or another chassis have run with Delrin diff and subframe bushings. So if you can please give me some feedback, or if you can link me to a video, or if you know where I can get polyurethane diff and subframe bushings for an FC, please leave me a link. So this video is part my struggle to get this thing ready, and also part I need some help and some feedback from the community. So I'm gonna go ahead now with this thing, and I got it all cleaned up like you saw. One side was super messed up, like there was all kinds of crap on the drive shaft or the half shaft, and then all kinds of stuff under here besides the undercoating that I had to scrub. And I remember what it was is that I blew a tire really bad on this side years and years ago, and I had to drive down the road with it as well, and it ate up the wheel well and everything, and I think that was all tire residue crap that got all over this side. But got it most off, and I think we're good to go. Now usually if I'm going to paint something like this to get it ready, I would acetone wash everything, but since it's such a complicated shape and everything's weird, I'm just gonna brake clean it. And that should do a good enough job for what we're trying to do today. Oh, I did take some time to polish up the diff pumpkin. That is a little bit of vanity. So what I'm going to do is rust reformer everything else here and get it with some like engine enamel. I find that works good for everything. And then up here I'm going to do some satin clear so that it'll still look nice under the car. So here's what I'm going to be using. First step, rust reformer. So this goes on, destroys rust on contact, and makes it transform into a sandable, paintable surface. So this is what I'm going to do to kind of stop some of the surface rust on the top of the diff mostly, and just get things kind of nice to stop that from creeping around. And then engine enamel, Rust-Oleum. I like this stuff. Stops rust as well, so it's a second layer of that. Gas, oil, and heat resistant, so it's pretty easy. And then VHT flame-proof satin clear for that diff cover, which is just protective finish on there and help it look nice and easier to clean. So if we ever get under there with the pressure washer in the future, it'll just, hopefully all the stuff will just come off, because even though aluminum doesn't corrode, it's still pitted and it models on the surface a little bit, so you get a lot of that crap that gets stuck in there, and usually it's at heat or there for a long period of time, so it's hard to get off. But anyway, I'm going to start reforming some rust. Alright everyone, so here it is. It's not perfect, still drying a little bit. Wanted to get you the shot while the clear was still a little bit shiny on the diff cover. But again, it's not perfect. I didn't take everything apart. But is it much better protected against rust? Absolutely. Is it much better looking than it was when I took it out? Absolutely. And please help me answer the questions I posed in this video. Do I need the different links? The toe links, camber links, the sway bar end links? Should I go with the Delrin mounts or try and source some OEM style? Is there anyone out there that knows about a polyurethane mount? Anyway, appreciate the feedback, so there'll be more to come with this before we put it in the FC. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember, if you liked the video, give it a like. Please comment if you have anything to add in the comments below. And remember, when they ask you, tell them you want more.